One word answer, jobs. We need to do everything we can to get more jobs here in this district. I mean, I gave you 2 examples in my opening statement. Dragging your feet on issuing permits in the Gulf, turning down the Keystone Pipeline. Another thing we could do is we take, you get port fees that are paid for ships using the port. Those fees ought to be directed back to the port to deal with infrastructure, to improve the infrastructure of the port. So I think those are 3 things you could do. Get regulations so it gets out of our business as well, which would help everybody nationwide as well as in the district. I'm Bill Sargent. It's a whole lot better not going first. Here's the list I give you. Department of Education, HUD, National Endowment for the Arts, National Public Radio, and part of the Energy Department. The reason I say part of the Energy Department is because there's a very important thing the Energy Department does, and I would take it out of energy and put it someplace else. That function is looking at the nuclear part of our export controls. We control exports for national security reasons. And part of that are things that can be used for nuclear weapons. That review comes out of the Department of Energy. So I would take that out of the Department of Energy and scrap the rest. The real issue, though, is what I would like to see happen is have us elect a president who would come in and who would get rid of all the executive orders that have been done under the Obama administration. That would be a great start. It's not the legislative job, but an executive job. If we can get a president who will do that, that would be great. The other issue is, and has been mentioned before, is we need to sunset all programs. Now, if a bill comes before me or to authorize a program in a committee I'm on, I'm going to ask, does it pass the constitutional test? If it doesn't pass the constitutional test, I'm not going to vote for it. Next question is, what are the benefits versus what are the costs? If the benefits outweigh the cost, I might go for it. But I need to make that judgment based on what the benefit is. The bottom line is we need to stop the overhanded and overbearing regulations you see coming out of the federal government. Thank you. I'm Bill Sargent, and I'm running for Congress. Absolutely, is my answer. But as part of that, I would do one other thing. When it comes time to balancing the budget, I'm against earmarks, but there's one earmark I would earmark, and that is a certain percentage of a balanced budget must go to paying down the principal of the debt. So that's an earmark I would support, that we must put aside that part of it. And again, I'm also for line item veto. I'm also for zero-based budgeting. All that's part of this. Like Michael said, I can't trust Congress either. Even if I was part of it, there's a lot of people I can't trust. And we need to keep their feet to the fire, and we need you all to keep our feet to the fire when we get elected. Don't just elect us and send us off to Washington. Make sure you hold our feet to the fire. That's really important. Thank you. I'm Bill Sargent. I'm running for Congress. Hi, I'm Bill Sargent. I believe that, as I said in my opening statement, that we need to empower state and local law enforcement to enforce all the laws of our country and bring them alongside of the Border Patrol. I don't have a problem so much with the using troops, except for one thing. There was a recent law that passed that allows U.S. troops to detain U.S. citizens without giving them access to an attorney, without having, there's no deadline on how long you can hold them. You can send someone, a U.S. citizen, to Gitmo, for example. That concerns me. A person doing something illegal in this country should be dealing with local law enforcement and not the issue of troops. However, for people who are not U.S. citizens, that would not apply. I think we should use drones. I think we should use whatever force we have available to get people there quickly and to interdict people who are coming into this country, especially terrorists, drug dealers, and people of that nature. I am not in favor of a fence. If those of you who go back and look at the Berlin Wall, it did not work. People got out of Berlin because of the Berlin Wall, and people were killing people trying to get out of Berlin. So I don't think it works. It also doesn't work in California, where when people from near Tijuana have been tunneling underneath the border. I want to allow free immigration legally, so I do not want to stop that from happening. I think that's good for our country, and it's good policy. But illegally, I have a real problem with it. And finally, as I said earlier, we need to get rid of the magnet. No more free food stamps, no more free education, no more free health care for people who are here illegally. Thank you. I'm Bill Sargent. I'm Bill Sargent. 20 years legislative experience on Capitol Hill. Part of that with Jesse Helms, 18 years of it with the Department of Commerce doing legislation. I was leading in a lot of that work. That's a good thing, folks. I served over 20 years in the United States Navy. I'm a retired veteran. Veteran who was a leader. And I'm not an attorney, which I think is a good thing, because we have too many attorneys representing us in Washington already. My first election that I worked in was in 1964, and I'm not going to say anything about how young these people are behind me, but my first election was working for Mr. Goldwater in the San Francisco Bay Area as the head of one of the heads of the Youth for Goldwater campaign in San Francisco in 1964. I went to the National Convention in 1964 as a worker. I ran the Republican primary in 2010 in Galveston County. I currently run the elections in the Galveston County as well. But let me go back to when I was in high school. I was asked as an English assignment to write a poem about something I really felt important. This gives you an idea where I'm coming from. That poem goes like this. America is famous for its rivers and its hills. America is famous for its factories and its mills. But to me, the greatness in my country is in the men she has bred. The pioneer, the statesman, and the history I have read. They had a mighty vision of a country proud and free. They wrote the Constitution and gave me liberty. I wrote that at age 15. I haven't changed. I still am a leader. I still think it's important to have good leadership in Washington, and I want to be the person who goes and does that for you. I'm Bill Sargent. Thank you.